We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell if you want to support this independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that dollar sign where you make your comment, and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Happy Thursday, August 27th. Another beautiful day to talk college football. We are 2 days away. 2 days away, less than 48 hours away, before we start our first watch party of the season here at Peek Around the Corner. I cannot wait. I hope you join us for at least a little bit on this Saturday. Put down your comments in real time about the games we are watching. We have a lot of fun. I see that Don Scruggs is in the house, Georgia Bulldog, Charlie Atwood, the team, the Army of 24, the Florida Man, Gold Knowles. We got some Florida State Miami information here today. Daniel Gorby's in the house. Ryan Brooks, go Tigers. Go Tigers. Yogi Buck waiting for Grelvis to enter the building. Now today it's not Elvis. It's not Elvis. It is, however, Greg the Gold Rogers and Dolly Parton. PATC Rendition is happening soon on this live show, so buckle up. Buckle up, everybody. Backed by popular demand. Maybe not so much popular demand, but we had to at Peek Around the Corner scratch that creative itch one more time. I don't know how many renditions we have done. Well over 50. Maybe close to 100. But here's another one. Greg the Gold Rogers singing with Dolly Parton. That is happening here in a little bit. Kenneth Maynor is in the house. The ACC has approved a ban on professional athletes going back to college sports. The architect is here. BYU football. Mama Duck Clemson Tiger. Anthony Carlson is in the house. Amy is here. Skaven, yes. Hello, whiny Gopher Band. I'm not going to be whining in about 7 days and 4 hours from now, because that is when the Golden Gophers kick off against the mighty FCS opponent, Eastern Illinois. Eastern Illinois. I don't know how the Gophers are going to pull this off, but we're going to. The mighty, glorious Golden Gophers are somehow going to figure out a way to defeat those evil Eastern Illinois, whatever their mascot is. Thank you for coming on in, Skaven. Yes. The other Gygax is in the house. The Mountaineer. Now, I've seen a lot of optimism from a lot of different fan bases during the offseason. But I think the Mountaineers might be at the very top, the tippity top. Usually, it's died down about 4 years ago, but the Nebraska Cornhuskers fan base, Skaven, yes, used to be so optimistic during the offseason, and then get really disappointed during the season. Now the Nebraska fan base, they have lowered their expectations after a handful of years. The Mountaineers, though, my goodness, woo! Reading, there's a lot of optimism in the air. We shall see. I watched Coos Corner. He had a prediction show. Man, I don't remember. Now I can't remember. He either had West Virginia going 8-4 or 9-3. I don't want to misquote him, but a lot of optimism about the West Virginia Mountaineers. MBM is in the house. Island in the Streams. Yes, that is the song that we are going to perform today up on the stage. We are going to perform that song. Greg the Gold Rogers and Dolly Parton. So buckle in. Yogi Buck. We have 21 games tonight. FCS. Yes, we do. I'm going to be watching some of it. A lot of it on ESPN+. Jay Chapman is in the house. Bill G, good afternoon. PATC. battle strap. Underwood going to shock the world. In a good way or in a bad way? I do think, now my opinion, my take on the Wolverines have changed since early this spring. I think Michigan is going to be better than I thought. I do think they're going to beat Oklahoma. I think that is going to shock a lot of people that Michigan puts the hammer on the Sooners. But I still am wondering if Michigan has the wide receiver room to help out Bryce Underwood. They got the running backs. Savion Hyder, we're going to find out a lot about that true freshman running back. But even without him, Jordan Marshall, they're going to have a great running attack. They're going to have a good defense. I think they're better than the Oklahoma Sooners. I think Michigan now is going to win 9 football games and just miss out of the playoffs. If Underwood is the quarterback that Battlestrap thinks he's going to be, then we are going to have a big brouhaha. We are going to have a battle at the top of the Big Ten. Woo! It could be epic. If Underwood is up to the level or anywhere close, he doesn't have to be a Dante Moore this year. He doesn't have to be a Julian Sayin this year. Right? He doesn't have to be a Jaden Mayava. But he's got to be a couple levels better than he was last year. Not just one level better, but a couple of levels better. Timothy Vitt, the Ohio Bobcats. The Ohio Bobcats are getting ready to play the evil Cornhuskers. Nebraska, Skaven, yes. Are you ready? Are you ready to play the Ohio Bobcats? I don't think you're ready. I don't think the Nebraska Cornhuskers are ready. Old Dad is in the house. Buckeye Greg, I did get the pick of the axe, Greg. Thank you very much. I did get the pick of the axe. And you are correct. Nebraska is not getting back the axe. Wisconsin is not getting back the axe. Adam is in the house. Mama Duck Clemson Tiger is here. Warn your cats and dogs. Greg will be singing soon. In other words, get the cats and the dogs in the room, and they're going to be hearing a glorious voice singing Island in the Streams. Jimmy Austin is in the house. Mr. Duck is here. Okay. Adam Rogue, in honor of Tom Petty and the Florida Gators, Greg should sing Won't Back Down. I've already done that song. We did that song. It doesn't mean we can't do it again, because I've done a couple of songs a couple of times. We did do that song. I can't remember what the story was. But anyways, I am honored to have all you join us. 51 people. I appreciate all the 51 people who have joined us here on this beautiful Thursday, August 27th. Well, the state of Louisiana is pushing back. And as I said yesterday, this is a complicated matter. I do agree with the rule. I do agree with the conferences coming down and saying you can't have these players in the pros come back and play college. But there is an argument to be made from LSU, the state of Louisiana. You're passing the rule now, But you should have grandfathered this in for 2022. These players did not have an option like they should have. And now you're going to rearrange the deck chairs. Now you're going to rearrange the bylaws of the SEC. Now you're going to do this all in midstream. It's a complicated matter. It really is. The state of Louisiana is pushing back, and we are going to go over that. First, we got a couple of stories here. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. They named their starting quarterback. It is Isaiah Marshall. He's a redshirt sophomore, dual threat quarterback who's played in 9 games, completed all 3 of his passes, rushed for 160 yards on 15 carries. Pete Thamel, ESPN. Marshall won a close camp battle with former walk-on Cole Ballard. Marshall will start against Long Island, I think that's Long Island, on September 4th before hosting Missouri on September 11th. Marshall gives OC Andy Kotelnicki the ability to stress the defense. Now, I will say this. Let me give you my take on this. In Rock Chalk Jayhawk Nation, let me know how wrong I got it, or Big 12 Nation who are against the Kansas Jayhawks from having any prosperity this season, or any Missouri Tiger out there. Let me know how wrong I got this again. But I sat back, I read that report, and without seeing a lick of Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall battling out in camp, I'm going to give you my uneducated speculation on this. Uneducated. That means no, I'm not educated on this. But that never has stopped me before from putting out my opinion. Let me know your take on this. But I kind of understand it. I kind of understand it. And I say this. I remember, and I talked about it, when Kotelnicki was the offensive coordinator of Lance Leipold back in the day in Lawrence, Kansas. We talked about it. All of that pre-snap movement. Holy smokes. I mean, there's a lot going on in Andy Kotelnicki's offense. Pre-snap. They try to figure out, just like everybody else, they try to figure out the defense. If they're in man or zone, they do a lot of motion. But it's more complicated than that. It really is. Well, anyways. I can understand, just like Jalen Daniels a little bit, Isaiah Marshall is going to make the defense, and then all that pre-snap movement make that defense think even a little bit more. It is unfortunate that Jalen Daniels was nicked up so much during his college career. It's unfortunate that he lost Kotelnicki midway through his career at Kansas. So this is kind of a reset. Now, we did have a comment in the comment section yesterday from a Rock Chalk Jayhawk fan who said they believe that Isaiah Marshall was 1 year away. And that might be the case. This might be that year that he matures, develops, first year starter. There's going to be a lot of challenges. Playing Missouri in your second game. Now again, Missouri's only got one returning starter on defense. So it's not like the Missouri of last year. Missouri's defense last year was pretty good. It wasn't bad. Go ahead and look at the stats. Surprisingly decent. But anyways, so it's Cole Ballard, Isaiah Marshall, big quarterback battle, and it went to Isaiah Marshall. So that's the news coming out of Rock Chalk Jayhawk Nation. We've got a $5 holler, the Evil Badger. Thank you for starting us off so much, Evil Badger. Very much appreciated, sir. Very kind of you. Evil Badger, $5 holler. There should be an age cap in college sports. Cut the cord from mommy. They did, the NCAA did do some sort of eligibility rule that they passed in concert with everybody else. Essentially, they kind of do have they're trying to get an age cap. It's 5 years. After your high school graduation class, or 5 years after you reach 19 years old. And that's the eligibility rule. So there is kind of sort of an age cap that they're trying to install. Thank you for the $5 holler, Evil Badger. Appreciate it very much. Thank you so very much for your generosity. Appreciate it. Wisconsin and Notre Dame. I've been listening to the Always Irish show. Great YouTube channel. John Kennedy does a great job. Always Irish. Go check it out. They've been talking a lot about Wisconsin and Notre Dame. There has been a little bit of a consternation, is that the right word, about some pieces on the offensive line for Notre Dame. I think it has to do with the right guard. There's a lot of names being thrown out there. Should there be a rotation? Or should they go with this guy? Should they go with that guy? So not everything is settled at South Bend going into that Wisconsin game. They don't have many questions, but they got a couple. And again, Notre Dame, as loaded as they are, as great as we all think they're going to be, and most of us think they're going to be in the playoffs, or they're going to be challenging for the national championship. They do not have Jadarian Price, and they do not have Jeremiah Love in the backfield anymore. They got Aeneas Williams. They got a couple of other dudes. They might have to lean on their wide receivers a little bit more than they ever have in the last 10 years. And C.J. Carr has to get to that next level. The defense is going to be brilliant. The defense will never be the issue at Notre Dame in 2026, in my opinion. But that offense, at times, is not going to show the juice, I believe, that they had last year. So Wisconsin to stay in that football game, for the Evil Badgers to stay in that football game, I think it's going to rest largely on the Badgers' defense. Because I think the offense is not going to get a whole lot of opportunities to put points up on the board. I'm being honest. But the defense might have the opportunity early, again, starting us off, first weekend of the season, or second weekend of the season, week 1. Notre Dame's offense might not be completely ready for a Badgers defense, for the great linebackers, for example. So getting ready for that game, we are going to be doing a double watch party on that Sunday night, September 6th, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, in Ole Miss versus Louisville. Also, that's Saturday morning. That's Saturday morning, September 5th. We're looking at a double watch party. And right now, I'm focusing on two games. The Alabama Crimson Tide versus East Carolina Pirates. And the Ohio Bobcats versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Both games starting at noon Eastern, 11 in the morning Central. Now again, there's a lot of games going on at that noon time. We are going to be we can switch games. We're going to watch the scores of all the games. But the two primary watch party games, I believe, on that Saturday morning is going to be Bama Crimson Tide against the Pirates and the Bobcats of Ohio versus those evil Cornhuskers of Nebraska. And we'll keep an eye on all the other games. All right? And then we'll figure out the rest of the day. There's a Clemson and LSU play on that Saturday night, right? So I think we can rest assured LSU and Clemson is going to be one of those 7:30 games, 7:30 Eastern time games. And there's another one. I can't remember what the game is, but there's another game there that I think we'll probably do as a backup. But anyways, thank you, Eva Badger. Appreciate it so very much. We got Christopher Hooter, purple and gold, $5 holla. Christopher Hooter, concerned LSU might fall in the civil crosshairs if they cower to the SEC here. Also, if all conferences adopt the same rules, is that a de facto monopoly? I guess it could be argued that way. I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on this college football channel. They don't have all the rules. They don't have all the same rules right now anyways. But at the end of the day, I think all the conferences are going to look quite similar, if not exactly the same. For example, the Big Ten does not have they only have their rules on the football part of it. Well, the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC have it on all their sports. Or they've included other sports, basketball, for example. So they don't look all the same. But again, look, there's been a lot of people wanting the SEC to enforce their own rules. So here we are. They're going to try to enforce their own rules. This is their rules, and if somebody else comes up with the same rules, I think it's probably going to be pretty easy for the SEC to prove that they were not in the room when the Big Ten made their rules. There was no emails. They're not going to be doing any of that. They can't be that stupid, right? So this is it. This is the first big test, and we shall see. None of these testing of the conference rules are going to look the same. This doesn't look the same as the Brendan Sorsby situation and whatever happens next. And there's going to be something that happens next with another football program, another athletic department, with another conference or within the SEC. Something is going to follow up and happen next. And there's going to be a battle. There's going to be none of these schools think the same. So, anyway, thank you, Christopher Hooder, for the $5 holler. If I was the SEC, I would not be worrying about that monopoly part of it. Because I think the SEC you're going to have to prove that there was communication between these conferences. The one thing that I would be concerned with if I was the Southeastern Conference, because I think why they would not want to have, they don't want to have this fight with LSU, this disagreement with LSU, but at some point this was going to happen within all of these conferences. I think this issue is the one issue that they would choose to have the battle first on this issue, because there is so much agreement on this. That is the one similarity between this and the Brendan Sorsby case. Everybody agrees that these players who were NFL players, we should not be taking in NFL players, NBA players, come back to college sports. But I also agree this is like the 1 year, because I believe the NCAA and the member institutions, which is us, I believe we swung and missed. We should have incorporated the class of 2022 in the 5 for 5. And I think there's an argument to be made by these players that they were not given an option to stay in college because they did not think that was going to be an option. So they they automatically entered the NFL draft if they're a senior. But to go to camp, to play in the preseason game, and they did not know, some of these guys would have, I don't believe there's a doubt, some of these guys would have chosen to stay in college football if they believed they had that option. Now, after saying all of that, still, this is the SEC forming its own rules. It's a complicated issue. I think it's a lot more complicated than most are willing to admit. Thank you, Christopher Hooder. Thank you for starting us off. Appreciate it so very much. Kenneth Maynard, I'm sure the Big Ten will amend their rules to address basketball too. I'm guess they probably would. We got Ryan Brooks, a member for 33 months. The purple and gold Ryan Brooks, he's getting ready for that Clemson game. Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central Time. Woo! Christopher Vezina is going to be the starter. Mama Duck Clemson Tiger, Cranky Tiger, all the other Clemson Tigers in the PATC family. Vezina, he looks like he's going to be the guy. But Tate Reynolds, he's coming on like a freight train. And there's a belief out there that Tate Reynolds is going to get a lot of playing time in week 2. In week 2 of the Clemson's football schedule. I think the era of Tate Reynolds is almost upon us in Clemson Tigerland. Ryan Brooks, thank you so very much. You are hereby officially knighted, cloak and dagger. That is not what I wanted. That is not what I wanted. What is going on? Thank you, Ryan Brooks. I care more about the rules applied fairly than getting a backup tight end. True. I agree with that. Now, if the rule gets applied today, like it is, it probably is going to be applied fairly going forward. If you're always going to go backwards in time, you're never going to get to that everything is fair part, right? Like Alabama was able to play a basketball player for a few games who played in the G League in the NBA. Then he couldn't. But going forward, if the rule is applied right now, going forward, nobody in the SEC would play an NFL player who was on a roster, who got drafted, who signed an NFL contract. I think all of that would be applied fairly. It would be applied fairly to LSU. The question is it going to be applied fairly to the players? I think it's a stronger argument that you can say, no, it won't be applied fairly. Thank you, Ryan Brooks. Thank you so much for the membership once again. 33 months. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for your generosity, Mr. Ryan Brooks. We got Christopher Hooter, $2 holler. $2 holler, the purple and gold. Exactly. Christopher Hooter is saying exactly. They did not know that they might have a fifth year. Correct. But that has more to do with player and NCAA. This SEC rule is all the schools in the SEC cannot have a player coming from the NFL back to college football. And that rule applies to everybody in the SEC. And not only that, the SEC doubled down on outside of the portal, a player in the SEC cannot transfer from one school to another SEC school. They reconfirmed that as well. So it's almost like two different issues. The issues of how do these players get treated versus these are the SEC rules. In other words, and let me know if I'm getting this wrong, but it's almost like the SEC is saying, look, if these players can go play somewhere else in college, if they can find a conference that would allow them to play, we're not standing in that way. This is a conference rule. 16-0 vote. LSU abstained on the punishment, but the conference rule is 16-0. Now, the thing about the players not being able to come back and play for Conference USA, the American, the Big Ten, that's the other conferences to decide. This is not a blanket rule. This is an SEC rule. And they changed their bylaws. So it's two different things. And again, in this way, it is like the Brendan Sorsby situation. Because the Big 12 was telling Texas Tech, regardless of what the court ruling is on this player's eligibility, we in the Big 12, we have determined that according to our Big 12 bylaws that you have signed on to, you are not allowed to have Brendan Sorsby come and play on your team. That is our conference rule. So, lots of ins and outs to this. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $2 holler. Appreciate it, sir. We've got the other Gygax. Again, the optimistic mountaineer. $5 holla. Do conferences have a better legal standing than the NCAA? And will conference rules be tossed in court? We're all going to find out. That is the billion-dollar question. Will the conferences have a better legal standing than the NCAA? There is some evidence that they do. In the Alston case, when Judge Gorsh and Kavanaugh basically said to everybody, the conferences do have a better legal standing than the NCAA. And then if you look at the Ivy League case, when again, the student athletes, Brown University, they sued the conference and they said, we should have athletic scholarships when we play at Brown University and these other universities at the Ivy League. And the Ivy League said, this is our rule. This is our conference rule. We don't have scholarships. And there are opportunities for these student athletes to play at other schools, at other public Ivy Leagues, at public Ivy schools. They can play at a Georgia Tech. They can play at a Virginia. They can play at a Michigan. They can get this type of education and they can get a scholarship if someone's willing to grant them the scholarship. We do not control their whole future here. They have a choice to play here or play somewhere else. And they won that court case. The NCAA has a monopoly, right? If you can't, there is no other option to play at a certain level in college sports if you are not under the NCAA umbrella. Now that is a monopoly. So it is the belief that the conferences have a better legal standing, but I think the other Gygax is just presenting this as, we really do not know. I mean, we don't know the extent of the advantage of a conference making its own rules, enforcing its own rules, in that credibility in the court. We really do not know. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out because the SEC is going to get sued. They're going to get sued. The Big Ten is going to get sued. Onward and onward and onward. And we'll see what happens in the courts. Thank you, other Gygax. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it so very much. We got Kenneth Maynard, $5 holla. week until I head from North Carolina to Gainesville for Summerall's first game in the Swamp. Great way to spend a long Labor Day weekend. Have a good time, Kenneth Maynard. Aaron Philo. Not to mention Jaden Baugh. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. That Saturday night game, Clemson and LSU. The other game we'll be doing at the same time, I believe, is going to be Georgia Tech and Colorado, starting at the same time, 7:30 Eastern time. So Georgia Tech, Colorado, LSU, Clemson. LSU, Clemson will be our primary game. Georgia Tech and Colorado will be the secondary game. That is how I have it scheduled right now. Appreciate it, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you very much. And we've got a $2 holler, Christopher Hoover. But SEC, Big Ten, here are the NCAA splitting hairs. Thank you for the $2 holler, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your point of view. I truly do. We're going to try to cover this in a balanced way, the best we can. This is a national independent college football YouTube channel. There ain't going to be a unanimous vote on anything we talk about, except that the Golden Gophers are truly glorious in the evil. No, we're not even going to get that because the evil. But we got breaking news. Hold on. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me, I guess there's breaking news. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to get to that BYU story. Okay. Yeah, not... Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay. We got breaking news. Thank you, Buckeye Greg. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for keeping your head on a swivel. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Dan Murphy, ESPN, a judge in Dallas signed a TRO today that would allow roughly 24 outgoing seniors to return to college sports if the NCAA or the SEC wants to try to block any of their returns. They would have to go to court and argue their case in front of the judge according to the order. And here are the names of the players. Notably, at least one of these players is currently listed on an NFL roster. Okay. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Let me... Okay. Yeah, Ross Dellinger is reporting the same thing. At least a couple of these players are listed on an NFL rosters. If they were added to any Power League rosters, they would violate the conference rules. So let me give you my take on this real quick. Okay? Let me give you my take on this. I happen to believe that nobody is going to try to stop Yeah, okay. I got the latest one. See, I happen to believe that nobody's going to try to stop these players from playing. The players are going to be able to play. It's the coaches and the schools that are going to get suspended and fined if they play these players. You see, the SEC and the Big Ten and these conferences, they're not granting punishment to the players. They're granting punishment to the coaching and the athletic departments. Now, if the school wants to sue the conference, which they might do that, then by all means go sue the conference. And now you're threatening a fracture within the conference. And now you're threatening who knows what's going to happen in the future. You see, there's only so much of this that is the players versus the schools, it's the schools versus the conference. This is a conference rule. This is like this, and LSU voted for it. And I don't know why they did that. 16-0. They abstain on the punishment part, which might give them a legal reasons to battle in the courts. That, the SEC is not making a determination on these players' eligibility throughout all of college sports. They're making that determination within the SEC. So if Alabama plays them, they're going to get punished. If LSU plays them, if Vanderbilt plays them, if Georgia plays them. So I get the argument from the player's standpoint. But the SEC has their rules, the Big Ten has their rules. That is where this is going to get decided. Christopher Hooter, $5 holla, $5 holla. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, Christopher Hooter, okay, so now go to court and argue in Texas. Why don't conferences just make a grandfathered exception for the 2022 freshman class that is reasonable? I think that's a pretty good argument. But again, if that argument doesn't win the day in the conference, see, the conference has to settle on something, and right now the Big Ten has settled on what they're doing, the ACC what they're doing, the Big 12's doing what they're doing, and the SEC's doing what they're doing. And by the way, a lot of these schools, now there's exceptions like Texas and Missouri, but what about all the other exceptions? What about all the other schools that never even attempted to get a player who has actually played in a preseason game, who has signed an NFL contract because they said, this ain't right, we're not going to do that? What about them? You see, it isn't just one way here. And the conference is going to have to settle on a rule. This is a good argument, in my opinion. A lot of people aren't going to like this argument that Christopher Hooter put out there. Grandfather the exception. But if you do that, there's some football programs that are going to come out way ahead on that, and some that are going to go way behind on that. It's like you're giving the incentive to the ones that sort of push that envelope to the limit. You got a lot more schools in the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC and the Big 12 going, no. Because none of us expected to bring back a player who's played in a preseason game, who was on the NFL roster. We didn't go after those players. We never expected, that's not what we've ever done before. Thank you for the $5 holla, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it. Again, in my opinion, this is going to come down to the school and if people believe that Texas is going to play a player, the Longhorns, who violates the SEC rule. If the Longhorns play a player who is on a roster here, who got paid, who got drafted, one of those three, then the Longhorns, the head coach, is going to have to sit out half the games, most likely. There's going to be a hefty fine on Texas. Half of their annual money that they get from the SEC, and possibly more punishment. So for those who are saying Texas and Missouri and the other schools, this is not a rule just on LSU. This is a rule for every SEC football program. This is a rule for every SEC basketball program going forward. This is a rule for every Big Ten football program going forward. This is a rule for every Big 12 football basketball program going forward. Now, let me get to a few more items here. I love the discussions that we're having. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you, Ryan Brooks. Okay. No, you haven't, Yogi Buck. That is coming up here. That is coming up in a moment, Yogi Buck. I do want to mention a couple of more interesting news items here. Miami Athletics and, of course, War Chant put out an article. Florida State put out a post. Is proud to announce a new partnership with Progressive to elevate the fan engagement and visibility surrounding the iconic Miami-Florida State rivalry. Together, we're setting a new standard for the game day content and digital experience for college football's ultimate showdown. Now, I did not really have the time to get into what type of, how this elevates the fan engagement. But again, wanted to point it out, the rivalry, Progressive, for the football game. Pretty cool thing between Miami, Florida State, and Progressive. Both schools are probably going to make a little bit of money on this. And again, it shows that Miami and Florida State at an administrative level, as we have reported many, many times over, these two schools are not at each other's throats like the fan bases are. And it's okay that the fan bases are, because that's what makes it a rivalry. But the administration of the two schools, as we have reported over the last 3 years, it's pretty tight. So, pretty cool thing Miami, Florida State is doing. If there's more detail on this, if we have more time in the days coming up, we'll be talking about it. Okay? This is another story that I don't know. Big shakeup at BYU. Football will now be split off from the school's other athletic programs. Kalani Sitake now reports directly to the University VP Keith Vorkink instead of Brian Santiago Okay. So let me know what you think. I don't know. I don't have a problem with football being kind of ushered into a different column of decision makers within an athletic department. So the split itself doesn't worry me too much. But the way this went about, with Kalani Sitake going to the press, he felt like he had to go out in public and talk about his frustrations and how quickly and nimble it is at BYU to usher money towards NIL for the football targets, high school recruits, possibly portal targets, versus what they're doing at the basketball side and the supposed promises or reassurance that Santiago gave to Kalani Sitake and others at BYU. When Sitake, it looked like Kalani Sitake might take the Penn State job. We've gone over all that. I think the problem I have with this is Kalani Sitake is reporting to this vice president guy. I guess that means that Sitake is going to have more of a direct line to the president. So he's talking to the vice president. But again, is this vice president, like, is he like competent when it comes to athletics? I mean, this is why you have an athletic director. It's almost like we're going to do an end run around an athletic director that the head coach doesn't trust anymore. But we don't want to get rid of the athletic director, even though football is the most important part of any athletic department. It seems kind of, this is like a Band-Aid. This isn't going to work long term. I mean, it could work long term if it was set up, if this was like planned. But this is like a herky-jerky move. I agree with the reporting, if I can find it now. Like Brett McMurphy report, and John Kurtz reposted it. Brett McMurphy reported 2 hours ago, BYU announces football coach Kalani Sitake will no longer report directly to athletic director Brian Santiago, but instead to a university vice president. Santiago will oversee BYU's remaining programs. Looks like Sitake won that one. But then again, Brett McMurphy reported an hour ago, this is a Band-Aid fix for a bigger long-term problem that will ultimately come down to choosing Santiago or Sitake. I agree. I mean, is this really better for Sitake to directly report to the university vice president, who may or may not know anything about football? Like, it seems it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a defeat. It's not a victory. It's just a Band-Aid. And for again, just from an outsider perspective, I've been very impressed with Kalani Sitake. I've been very impressed with how BYU plays the football game. They're never out of sorts. That team runs back and forth. They got their packages in. They hardly ever get a pre-snap penalty. They never rarely have to call a timeout because they're confused. That team runs like a machine. Kalani Sitake, when that team is down in the game, late in the game, he's calm, cool, and collective, and BYU almost always mounts that comeback and takes victory away from their opponent. I'm incredibly impressed. But now there is a kink in the armor here. They always had the impression of being fully aligned. This is a Band-Aid. And when you rip off a Band-Aid, you don't know if it's healed or not. If I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would say at the end of the year, Sitake stays and BYU gets another athletic director in, a new one. But they can't make that move right now. I think that's what they did here. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right, so a couple of very interesting items. We're going to get to the LSU. The state of Louisiana pushes back towards the SEC headquarters. And because of that, we here at Peak Around the Corner, with another PATC rendition, Islands in the Stream, talking about the relationship between Lane Kiffin and Greg Sankey. Buckle up, brace for impact. Let's go. Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown. I set out to get you with a fine-tooth comb. I was soft inside. There was something going on. You do something to me that I can't explain. Hold me closer and I feel no pain. Every beat of my heart, we got something going on. Tender love is blind. It requires a dedication. All this love we feel needs no conversation. We can ride it together, making love with each other, Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other, No one lover to another, I can't live without you if the love was gone. Everything is nothing if you got no one. If you just walk in the night, slowly losing sight of the real thing. But that won't happen to us, we got no doubt. Too deep in love, we've got no way out, and the message is clear. This could be the year of the real thing. No more will you cry, baby, I will hurt you never. We start and end as one, in love forever, we can ride it together, making love with each other, Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other. From one lover to another. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other. From one lover to another. Sail away, sail away, sail away. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Greg the Gold Rogers and Dolly Parton playing the backup, singing the backup. You probably couldn't really hear her voice because my voice is so loud. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed that song about the relationship between Greg Sankey and Lane Kiffin. Hopefully they will sail away together. They get everything solved within the SEC. Look, since the passing of the great, legendary, and incredibly sweet Dolly Parton, I went through the songs. I had no idea what to do. None of it really fit. None of it fit my range of voice, and I really didn't. I knew I had to do something. I had to scratch the creative itch. And I know that a lot of you are thirsting for a Dolly Parton PATC rendition. So that is the very best that we could pull off here at Big Around the Corner. Again, rest in paradise, Dolly Parton. Our true prayers go out to the family and loved ones of Dolly Parton. And the next time you see Dolly Parton, it will be forever. Now, let everybody know that they can come back in the room, that they can unmute. Really tough song to sing. Now, I'm seeing a lot of this rolling in the grave. Everybody's rolling in the grave. My wife is rolling her eyes. They must be dancing in the grave. After that performance, that rolling must mean that they're dancing because of the beautiful golden voice of Greg the Gold Rogers. Oh boy, we got Christopher Hooter, $2 holler. Thank you, Purple and Gold. Appreciate it. I bet that Greg and Little General go karaoke 5 times a week. No. Never done karaoke with the Little General. I have thought about having a karaoke machine in here so it can play the backup music, because every song that I've ever sung on this channel has all been a cappella. There's a reason why you do not hear professional singers singing a cappella. Not very often. Because it doesn't sound that good. Anyways, so I've been thinking about playing, but I don't know how much I'm going to get dinged by YouTube. If it's just me singing a cappella with no music, usually YouTube understands that it's parody. And parody is protected. The First Amendment, free speech, parody is protected. But some of my parody I've been docked, where I have to give 50 cents of of whatever to the people who own the song. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Give me one moment here.